England has a wonderful history of farmhouse cheesemaking stretching back hundreds of years, but until recently, many of the great regional classics were in danger of disappearing, replaced by industrial mass-produced copies. All that changed in the 1980s, and this shop played a vital part in their renaissance. Neal's Yard Dairy was established in London's Covent Garden district in 1979 by Randolph Hodgson. Randolph soon found himself at the forefront of a growing consumer movement, looking for alternatives to the bland and predictable plastic-wrapped cheeses sold in the supermarkets.
So traditional cheese was on the way out, and we were down to our last one unpasteurised farmhouse Cheshire, our last handful of real farmhouse Lancashires, and the future was going to be extinction.
Since then, he's played a pivotal role in encouraging the revival of English cheese, particularly traditional cheeses handmade on the farm using unpasteurised milk.
If they can taste it, what it costs and how it looks, while still important and while relevant, are less important than how it tastes, because if they like the way it tastes, they'll buy it. They might buy a smaller piece if it's more expensive, but if it tastes good to them, they'll go home and they'll be satisfied. They're not gambling. And I think that's one of the things that you get as a customer if you come here. You're going to leave, if you can taste the cheese, very contented with what you bought, and that's going to bring a customer back.
We had a clientele who were screaming for it. If you say, this is the Cheshire, it's the last Cheshire made like this, taste it, people are going, God, that's fantastic, I've never tasted Cheshire like that. Buying it, and that's what turned it round. Just giving it to the consumer and putting it in their mouth.
Armed with degrees in chemistry and food science, young Randolph began making yoghurt and fresh cheeses on the premises. He soon discovered another opportunity. Travelling to small farms in the country, he began selecting traditional handmade farm cheeses for maturation and sale. As a result, the shop's exceptional range of British cheeses has now become legendary. 25 years later, the production of Neal's Yard cheese has moved out of London to beautiful Hertfordshire, where they are now produced under the Neal's Yard Creamery brand. Meanwhile, Randolph and his dedicated team have added another shop in Borough Market and converted several old railway arches nearby into a state-of-the-art maturation facility. These old railway arches might not look anything special, but beneath them they ripen some of the finest cheeses.
Above us is the main line from London to Dover. So you will hear from time to time trains are trundling overhead. The great thing about it, though, is there's a huge, thick wodge of brick between us and the outside world, which means that we have an amazingly sort of insulated environment, which is fantastic for cheese. It's got the right conditions of temperature and humidity without us having to do much with it. So we receive the cheese in here, it's stored all the way down there in those rooms there, then it moves through to the next arch where it's packed, put in boxes and dispatched out to restaurant shops and all over the world.
As if all that was not enough, the tireless Randolph is also resurrecting the most famous of all English blue cheeses. But more about that later. England's traditional cheeses evolved after Roman times, and the so-called territorial varieties take their names from their county or region of origin. Originally made in small farmhouse dairies, these cheeses share similar production principles, but with subtle differences for each region. They were all once made from raw milk, which is very important when it comes to the individual flavour, texture and aroma of any cheese. There is one English territorial cheese whose name predates all others, even cheddar. It goes back to Roman times and comes from here on the Cheshire Plains. Today, there's one single farmhouse producer still making cheese the traditional way, using raw milk. Its name is Appleby Cheshire. Traditional farmhouse Cheshire is quite different to the modern mass-produced block cheese that masquerades under the same name. Made from raw milk, it's wrapped in cloth so it can breathe during maturation. The Appleby family pride themselves on the timeless quality and flavour of their Cheshire, which which is still made using a family recipe passed down over several generations.
Became the biggest made cheese that there was in the country. It outdid cheddar for years.
The economic depression of the 1930s led to the closure of hundreds of small farmhouse producers across England, and their decline was accentuated by strict production controls during World War II and rationalisation under a national milk marketing board. One of the few farm-based dairies to survive in Cheshire was owned by Mrs. Lucy Appleby. Mrs. Appleby has made Cheshire for more than half a century and explained to me how it all began.
I went to dairy college for 9 months. I suppose I was 17.
Yeah.
My mother and father weren't very well and we had to get stuck into it at home. Once you said you were making cheese, they allowed you 1 month off each year to clean round, otherwise.
Since then, what changes have you seen in the industry?
Well, the process is much the same.
What about using unpasteurised milk?
Well, that's what we do. I don't like pasteurised milk because I think you destroy some of the minerals in the milk.
And has it been a hard battle, keeping the cheese made from unpasteurised milk?
It was at one time, yes. But the Prince of Wales helped us out.
Prince Charles is patron of the Specialist Cheesemakers Association in Britain and has been an outspoken supporter of traditional farmhouse cheese made from raw milk. His views have helped ensure these cheeses survive for future generations to enjoy. The Applebys keep their Cheshire for a minimum of 8 weeks, but in the case of cheese selected by Randolph, they're matured for 5 to 6 months. And believe me, the wait is well worth it.
Get our Shropshire beer, just sprinkle a little bit on top. So that's just bubbling up nicely.
When I was growing up in England, one of my favourite cheeses was Lancashire. It's one of the most underrated of all English territorial cheeses, but when it's made the right way, from raw milk on the farm, you just can't beat it. One look at the beautiful countryside of Lancashire and you realise why this region has its own unique cheeses. Gentle green rolling fields and woodlands are dominated by the mighty Beacon Fell, and many farms in the region once produced their own cheese. Methods varied slightly from farm to farm, but when the milk was in short supply, some held curds for several days before making a cheese, which became known as 3-day Lancashire. Nowadays, there is only one farm still producing traditional 3-day Lancashire from unpasteurised milk, and it's called Kirkham's Lancashire.
That's sort of going back quite a long while, really. I mean, in this area, there was a lot of farms, and they all used to make a little bit of cheese. But the farms we're talking about might have maybe 10 cows, you know, really small, but a lot of them. You wouldn't physically have enough milk to turn into curd, and you'd probably end up maybe getting 3 days sets of curds to actually physically make one cheese. So that's how the 3-day curd recipe originally sort of came from.
One of the secrets of this farm cheese is the use of homemade starters, warmed by a coal fire overnight. So how long does it take you to make one? You've put the milk in last night. When will this actually be finally hooped and ready to go in on the shelves?
Oh, this will be... We'll turn this into curd today. That will only start getting used tomorrow.
Now, your mum used to make this cheese originally.
Yeah, we've made cheese in this building for 30 years. And that's what we do. We don't know any different.
Once they come out of the dairy, they come into this maturing room, and in here the temperature is about 12 degrees. And as the cheeses start to mature, they develop this unique rind, which is good, which is what you want. And the older the cheese goes, the thicker the rind goes, and that's the cheese maturing. because cheese matures, unlike fruit which matures from the outside in, cheese matures from the inside out. The cheese really starts to come into its own at about 6 weeks old, 6 to 8 weeks old, and it develops what we call its tasty Lancashire. It's a nice creamy, buttery flavour, and then just as you swallow the cheese, you get a little sharpness just towards the back of your mouth. The process of buttering, the cheese is bound in a cloth, and then it's covered in melted butter, and this is to allow the cheese to be kind of semi-sealed, but yet it can still breathe and still mature. So, and it develops this unique rind that our cheese has. You can see it's a semi-crumbly cheese. It's not soft and it's not hard, it's somewhere in between. So a lovely, creamy, milky, buttery taste in your mouth, and that's exactly how it should be.
Well, what we can do here is, it's just basically what we call a cheesy egg. So you want some nice vine tomatoes. Right, so you want to crumble some of this. Get a little hole in the middle, free-range egg, like so. Like that, sit an egg in the middle, and then some slices of tomato around the outside. A little bit of this, a bit of black pepper. And then what we need to do now with that is steam it for about 5 minutes.
Right, you try it first.
Right, I'll try it first. Just put that bread, Joe. And then, right, this time, you tend to do it with a spoon if you can. I mean, sometimes you can sort of dip, but the thing to do if you can is just to sort of spoon a lump on, then just
So one blow like that.
And
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Fantastic. Right. It's flipping, it's natural, isn't it? You know, it's just good ingredients, isn't it? It just works.
Well, that's great. Isn't it lovely? Good. Do you miss making cheese?
I still make it quite a lot.
Ah, the truth comes out.
Yeah.
What,
yeah.
when he's out of the
Yeah.
country and having
That's
his
right,
long,
yeah.
expensive
Yeah.
holidays.
I still keep my hand in and keep everything under control. Just keep my eye on everything.
And what do you think of Randolph Hodgson?
We definitely wouldn't be where we are without the support of Rand and Neal SIDARI. They've done so much promotional work and put us up there and helped us get there with all the other cheeses. So I mean, yeah, I've great respect for Randolph. He's done a lot of good for us and still is.
So the fourth generation's going to start. I look forward to coming back and talking to them. Thanks very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
After lots of cheesy tales, I discovered there was one final dramatic step in the story behind Kirkham's Lancashire.
Out there
Yeah.
is a cheese that's gone wrong. So from time to time we do get unusual cheeses that go a little bit funky and get crazy flavours, and we can't let them go. So it's becoming a bit of a known thing now that some of the British cheesemakers are taking a gun to the cheese that have gone wrong.
Oh, okay. So what we're going to do is destroy that.
We're going to blow that cheese up.
Yeah,
We're going to put an end to it.
great. What bullets are we putting in?
What I've sort of found best for those cheeses out there, I'm experimenting with a few, but this is the best. That's Winchester SPF 1, which means that it's the most expanding ballistic tip on the market, and that will do the job.
Elephant killer and cheese killer.
Cheese killer. Cheese killer.
No, you didn't tell me, did you?
I wasn't sort of watching. I didn't know you had your eyes right on the lens. You want to be just sort of back a little bit.
I've seen a lot of unusual things on my cheese travels, but this was my first experience of shooting at cheese. Bizarre, but strangely compelling. The Dales of North Yorkshire are really special at this time of year. Everything looks so green. Got these beautiful little fields surrounded by stone walls that go back to ancient times, small villages and high fells which you climb and just get lost in thought. It's a marvellous place. And of course, it's home of Wensleydale cheese.
first that we know really about it, some Cistercian monks settled in the top end of the Dale, and cheese making and other crafts were developed in this area. It was like the commercial hub of the area. After cheese making moved out of the abbeys, and then it went to the farmhouses, and then eventually cheese making started at Hawes at the end of the 19th century in a factory environment, and it continued expanding and expanding up until 1992, when unfortunately cheese making was going to cease in the area. Now, remembering that it had been on the go for nearly over 1,000 years, cheese making, it was seemed a great shame to all the local population.
The large company that owned the dairy at that time decided it would make economic sense to move cheesemaking to a modern facility in nearby Lancashire. Understandably, this proposal outraged the proud locals. It was unacceptable to see their Wensleydale made in another county, and believe it or not, some of them still remembered the War of the Roses.
There's always been this rivalry between Lancashire and Yorkshire, and when it comes to cricket and that, we always have the Battle of the Roses and whatever, you know, so there's always this intense rivalry between the two counties.
For 6 long months, the dairy lay idle, until a small group of former employees, including Richard, bought it back, and then transformed it into the success it is today. The dairy now employs over 150 staff, and encouraged by Randolph, it's begun expanding its range of cheeses to include a few which are made the traditional way and matured under cloth.
We started with only a very few number of staff, and very few of us started working together, and now there are 150 people working for the creamery. And we produce a vast array of cheeses. We also produce, whereas Wensleydale cheese, going back into the monks' time when they made it here, in Jervo, it was the sheep's milk cheese. We produce sheep's milk cheese as well. It's living.
Yeah.
You've got living things in there. As the cheese comes out, it's nice and white.
Yeah.
Now, when we look at the cheese, we're looking for the aroma.
That's lovely. That's sweet and lactic and...
Is that honey flavoured coming through, isn't it? You know, which you better taste in a moment.
Yeah.
Just take a piece off the end there. And now, it should
be crumbly
like that. Then you get an after flavour coming, don't you? You get your first...
That's lovely, isn't it? The first little bit.
Lactic shock, and then...
Which one do Wallace and Gromit prefer?
Well, I would guess they would like them both, to be honest, because Wallace just loves Wensleydale, doesn't it?
Oh, so it doesn't matter whether it's blue or white?
It doesn't matter at all. Wallace is a cheese fanatic, and the greatest cheese in the world he's going to taste it.
Oh, thank you very much. England's most famous blue cheese is Stilton, and it was once only made from raw milk. As demand grew, the larger dairies began making cheese using pasteurised milk and mechanised techniques. By the late 1980s, only one producer still made a raw milk Stilton, and the Stilton Makers Association agreed to new regulations that legally banned the use of raw milk in any cheese sold under the name Stilton. The story begins here at the magnificent Welbeck estate in North Nottinghamshire, where a small dairy has started to recreate one of Britain's great classic blue cheeses.
When he first started making it, he gave us a little bit, because, well, I mean, I don't eat cheese, I can't. But my wife didn't like it. He gave us some more, what would it be, a fortnight ago. She can't get enough of it now.
Frustrated by this situation, Randolph and cheesemaker Joe Snyder, in partnership with the Welbeck estate, embarked on a risky plan to revive this great benchmark before it was forgotten. But for legal reasons, it's called Stichelton rather than Stilton. So this cheese, this is definitely a crumbly cheese, so it fits into the Wensleydale, Cheshire, Lancashire.
That's the roots. Yeah. If you think about what I call the most primitive of the British cheeses, because in technological terms, it goes back before, the recipes predate the use of commercial starter. Yeah. It's about when people were making cheese in their homes, just from the milk from the cows outside the door. When cheese making was a kitchen activity, it was no different from baking a cake, roasting the lunch, or making bread. you would just make cheese?
Everything has to be done that much more gently. So we're cutting by hand, the curd is softer, we're using less rennet, and we're staying away from mechanization.
And the next stage in the process?
Well, we're going to let this curd sit here for about 3 hours. That's a very long time. It's nice and warm. It's going to firm up in body. You can see it now if I take some out. Very delicate, very weak, easily damaged.
So Joe, what in God's name is happening here?
Well, we're ladling the curd from the vat into the trolley. What we want to do is take a nice little layer off, stack it neatly in there, and keep doing that one thin layer at a time. What that also does is invert the curd, so you've got this big pile of curd, and you're making the top layer the bottom over there. So you're flipping the whole thing in nice little layers so it drains well. Because if we're too rough with it, we'll lose the moisture.
The curds will spend all day in the vat, and then as they drain, the acid rises steeply, creating an open textured, crumbly cheese. This is then moulded and rubbed in the traditional manner to seal the skin. Weeks of maturation on wooden racks helps encourage blue mould growth.
This one here is about 9 weeks old, so a bit young for our cheese.
What age do you normally let them out at?
Well, it's really something we're trying to discover, because it's a new cheese, we haven't done it. We're trying to figure out where it's at its best, but about 10 or 12 weeks, I think.
Maestro, after you.
Well, I mean, first off, I think it's a little bit tight. It's not as good as some of the others we've just tasted. But the thing is, every part of this cheese is a little bit different. And you can tell it's young because it's not creamy yet. I mean, the texture we're trying to go for is that really butter. It's like soft butter. Not too oily, but just soft. It melts in your mouth. So try it, put it in your mouth. It's moist, but it's light. You've still got that fluffiness.
Yeah.
You know, it's crumbly. It's in that English tradition of Lancashire and Cheshire and Wensleydale and all the Dales cheeses. You've got the acidity and the freshness and that light, frothy fluffiness. Well, it's 17,000 acres set all the way around here. That's Sherwood Forest up there. So there's
Sherwood Forest.
3,500 acres of forestry.
Yeah.
And the rest is parkland and farming. And this estate actually goes all the way down to Derbyshire, and it borders the Chatsworth estate.
Collingswaith Estate Organic Dairy Farm is where the cheese making takes place, and being so close to Sherwood Forest. You could be the Robin Hood of the cheese world.
Yes, one day.
I think you might already be. The Welbeck Estate attracts many tourists, and their specialist shop offers a great range of cheeses, including the new Stichelton. It's almost 3 decades since I first came across Randolph Hodgson working behind the counter at Neal's Yard Dairy. And what he's achieved in that time is quite amazing. He has changed the way real cheese is sold and matured in Britain, and ensured the survival of the great English cheeses made on the farm.
I wouldn't have done what I'm doing if there hadn't been a man like Randolph. He's been instrumental. We wouldn't have even thought about making cheese. I knew Randolph before I even sort of went to work for the Kirkhams or went to work for Mary Holbrook. You know, I knew of his sort of history and what he was doing for British cheese. And you know, if I didn't know there was a man like that out there, I probably wouldn't have even started doing what I was doing.
Neal's Yard Dairy have been the biggest customer, obviously, for my stuff. They still take 30-40% of what I make and wholesale it around the country. But he's brought on so many of the British cheesemakers. He's been a real force. I'm sure it wouldn't be the same without him, without any doubt.
Randolph has also inspired a whole new generation of cheesemakers who are producing an exciting range of specialist cheeses.
The future's amazingly exciting. There's renewed interest in cheese making that just wasn't there before. You know, there's enough of an appreciation for the craft that goes into the production of cheese that when people taste it, especially, they're willing to pay money that will lead more and more people to make more and more better cheeses. So that's very exciting. And for me, it's a rosy future.
Randolph has played a critical role in defending tradition and encouraging a significant new movement. The Neal's Yard shops and nearby maturation tunnels are outstanding examples of how cheese should be matured and sold. And under his guidance, specialist cheese will continue to grow and prosper in Britain.
Two things have happened. One, new people going out to the country, starting up cheese making, and the other is the old-timers deciding they're not going to go out of business and they're going to proliferate. And it's been very, very exciting.
The cheddar. Oh. And again.
Hey Rich, there's no one there, mate.
It's Postman Pat.
Postman Pat.
Will Stud, peace-loving, animal lover.
Oh, he's shot!
Then everybody sits up and barks.
Oh, that's a blue pad.
Join me in England for cheese slices!
I hope it comes off.
No, come over beautifully. You're doing fantastic.